Oops, was it a white thing to think that he'd want money?
It's about the utilization of resources to help repair the damages inflicted on black people as a result of the slave trade and over 100 years of racial discrimination that was mandated legally in the United States through law.
The government doesn't owe black Americans money because of slavery, because the government has already given black Americans all sorts of things, including money, because of slavery. John McWhorter, black American and critic of the reparations movement.
McWhorter is a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute who's taught at Berkeley and Cornell universities. He's also written several books on black issues, including this one, Losing the Race.
In the 1960s, things were developed such as a little thing called affirmative action, or something that we often forget, which is that welfare policy was completely revised with poor black people in mind. Nobody applied the word reparations to these things, but that's what they were, reparations.
Man, we are so glad we found John McWhorter, an African-American, to make these points, because we're just too fucking white to say some of this stuff. We're even too white to say black comfortably. So we're saying African-American no matter how many syllables it adds to the show. And McWhorter says reparation advocates still want to pour money into poor black communities.
We tried that. It doesn't work. And what made them not work was not that they didn't have enough money. It's because they weren't aimed at helping people to help themselves.
It's like that fish thing, you know. Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll bore the living shit out of you on the Outdoor Living channel.
The whole reparations idea, ultimately, is the product of people who are afraid to stand on their own 2 feet.
McWhorter urges those in the reparations community to stop with the finger painting. Pointing. Fuck, I need a larger font on my script.
Why would a competent race that likes itself want to say, we had obstacles and we still do, so pay us, instead of there are obstacles and we'll show what we're made of by triumphing over them?
Shouldn't we ask it? Okay then, we'll just ask a practical question. If reparations came out of taxpayer money, wouldn't African Americans in effect be paying themselves?
One of the proposals of the reparations movement is that I've heard is that black people for X amount of years shouldn't pay tax. So that would solve that problem.
What that would do is it would be part of a general notion that black people play by different rules. It's time to get past that, and I think that I'm 40. People my age and younger are getting past that. I really don't think whites are better than me.
Oh yeah? Well, oh yeah? Okay, how about the other practical question? Should all white people have to pay reparations, even if their ancestors came to America after slavery ended?
White folk of all stripes owe reparations. Yes, they owe. Why? Because a system was created, backed up by academic institutions, economic institutions, and political institutions, that white people who definitely didn't have anything to do with slavery benefited simply because they're white. So they owe, because they benefit from being white. It's just that simple.
Stop this. We don't have to shut up just because we're the wrong race. White people did not fucking invent slavery. It's been around all over the world since ancient times. Slavery existed in Africa long before the first Europeans set foot there. And in Mauritania, Nigeria, Benin, and Ghana, some slavery still exists. Black Africans who had enslaved their fellow black Africans were the first and some of the main suppliers to the European slave traders. But the white USA benefited from slavery, right? Including the guys who wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. Yup. And it wasn't until those ideas made their way to Africa that slavery got outlawed there. And how about modern African Americans? Are they better off or worse off than their relatives in the old country? We don't say we know all the answers, but one thing's for sure, it's not just that simple. What about the lingering effects of slavery? Like the white guy doing voiceover feeling too uncomfortable to really make any jokes right now.
I don't know the village that I came out of. I don't know my original name. I don't know my original spiritual orientation that people call religion. I don't know. I can't take you back to the 18th and 19th century to my great-great-great-grandparents like other people can. So, yes, we are definitely affected, and I am definitely affected because I yearn to want to have the same information that other people have about their history.
As far as I know, most of my dad's family came from somewhere in Newfoundland. But on my mom's side, we were sailors, and sailors fuck anything, so I'm probably been a sheep American. Teller's also a complete mongrel. His mother's side had some Cuban, and his father's side was Russian Jew, who never even mentioned their history till Teller was 50 years old. They just wanted to be Americans. Some people may be interested in their family's history, but that's just a hobby. We know a lot of people that don't give a fuck. My father was a jail guard and numismatist in Massachusetts. Teller's dad drew lettering on newspaper ads in Philadelphia. We loved our dads very much, but because they were Americans, Sam and Joe were very happy we didn't grow up too affected by our backgrounds. To get a different perspective on reparations, we went to Asheville, North Carolina to meet H.K. Edgerton. We caught up with him just as he was setting off to one of his regular activities, marching to downtown Asheville in a Confederate uniform, proudly flying the rebel flag. Why?
I'm seeking restitution, and that restitution should be for all those Southern folks.
That's right. H.K. wants reparations to be paid to Southerners who had their property destroyed in the Civil War by Union forces that fought to end slavery.
I don't know how you distribute something like that, but I do know this, that the United States government owes a great deal to my Southland, no matter what color of that person is.
Before you start thinking H.K. is ignoring his racial issues, you should know he's the former president of the Asheville chapter of the NAACP.
For me, serving as the president of the NAACP was one of the most honorable things that I had ever done in my life.
H.K. Edgerton is a man who cannot be pigeonholed. He's thinking for himself. He sees the aftermath of the Civil War as more about region than race.
Hey now.
According to H.K., many black Southerners made weapons and fought bravely during the Civil War. They saw the war as first and foremost defending their homeland. You see, H.K. really loves the South, and he believes his homeland has been the victim of a smear campaign over the years.
When you make the people dumb them down so bad to make them think that my flag and all these Southern folks in the Southland of America were a bunch of evil, demonic slave masters, you have told a grand lie.
It's true. Not all Southerners were racist, and very few owned slaves. It's a complicated motherfucking issue. As always, H.K.'s march brings him to Asheville's town square and this memorial to the Confederacy. When he arrives, he pays his respects, salutes a lot, and hits on chicks.
Are these your babies? I thought these were your little sisters.
Yeah.
My, y'all got a pretty mama. I love looking in your pretty eyes. Come on, tell me.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, you pretty girls. How y'all doing?
We'll come back and visit with H.K. again later. Right now, let's turn our attention to the American Indians and the issue of casinos on their reservations. Why can Indians have casinos on their land and other people in the same state can't? It's a result of treaties signed hundreds of years ago to make Indians sovereign on their reservations.
Well, the Supreme Court in 1987 said that the tribes have the right to offer this activity on their reservations and that the states had no right to interfere with that. Kevin Gover, former Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs, Professor of American Indian Studies, tribal attorney.
Wow. When does he have time for the sweat lodge? Gulliver is also a Pawnee Indian. Among these people, he's known as Hangs with a Latte.
The people to whom reparations are genuinely owed aren't with us anymore. And so, from that perspective, there can never be reparations. But